What if everything you knew about the serpent in Genesis was wrong? The Hebrew word nahas reveals astonishing layers of meaning, more than just a snake. Linked to wisdom, divination, and transformation, it challenges traditional teachings. Could the serpent be a symbol of spiritual awakening instead of evil? This surprising revelation might redefine how we view humanity's journey in the Bible. The serpent in Genesis isn't what it seems. Far from a simple snake, the Hebrew word nahas reveals profound meanings, hinting at wisdom, divination, and hidden knowledge. Ancient cultures like the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, and Canaanites revered serpents, associating them with transformation, healing, and spiritual power. In Genesis, the serpent's dialogue with Eve opens the door to humanity's intellectual and moral awakening. Was it evil, or was it a catalyst for growth? This story challenges centuries of traditional interpretations. Across civilizations, serpents were both feared and respected. They symbolized life, death, and knowledge, bridging the gap between the sacred and the profane. We uncover a deeper narrative by examining the serpent's role in biblical Hebrew and ancient mythology. This context reshapes how we view the serpent, not as a deceiver but as a complex figure driving humanity's spiritual journey. Join us as we explore its fascinating symbolism and transformative role in the Bible. In the original Hebrew text of Genesis, the word used for serpent is nahas, a term that carries a depth of meaning far beyond the image of a slithering snake. While often translated simply as serpent, nahas is a multifaceted word rooted in concepts of enchantment, divination, and even wisdom. This linguistic depth challenges the traditional portrayal of the serpent as merely a deceptive creature and opens the door to richer, more nuanced interpretations of its role in the Genesis narrative. Firstly, nahas isn't just a noun, it is also tied to verbs and adjectives with additional implications. For example, it connects to hiss or to whisper, which are actions often associated with divination or secret communication. In ancient contexts, whispering or hissing was not just a form of sound but was linked with esoteric knowledge, the kind of wisdom reserved for priests, shamans, or other intermediaries between the human and divine realms. Thus, when we encounter the serpent in Genesis, it's not unreasonable to think of it as more than just a physical being. Its role as a bearer of forbidden knowledge and a questioner of divine authority fits into this broader context of ancient symbolic associations. Moreover, the Hebrew word arum, RVM, used to describe the serpent as crafty or cunning, further complicates the picture. While modern readers often interpret these terms negatively, the Hebrew connotation of arum is more ambiguous. It can mean shrewd or prudent, characteristics that are not inherently bad but rather reflect intelligence and foresight. This interpretation suggests the serpent might have been portrayed as a figure of wisdom, someone or something that encourages critical thinking and challenges established boundaries. The interaction between the serpent and Eve exemplifies this complexity. The serpent does not directly command Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, nor does it lie outright. Instead, it asks a question. Did God say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? This opening line is strategic. It invites reflection, not blind obedience. By questioning the divine prohibition, the serpent introduces an alternative perspective that frames the tree of knowledge as an opportunity rather than a threat. The serpent's pivotal statement, "You will not surely die," has often been read as a direct contradiction of God's words. Yet, a closer examination reveals something more subtle. When Adam and Eve eat the fruit, they do not die immediately. Instead, their eyes are opened and they gain knowledge of good and evil, precisely what the serpent predicted. This sequence of events raises an important question. Was the serpent truly deceitful, or was it presenting an uncomfortable truth? This layered portrayal of the serpent aligns with ancient symbolic traditions, where serpents were often seen as intermediaries between realms, earthly and divine, mortal and immortal. In Genesis, the serpent acts as a boundary crosser, challenging humanity to think independently and face the consequences of their choices. This reframing invites us to see the serpent not as merely a villain, but as a catalyst for transformation, autonomy, and the pursuit of knowledge. The serpent's interaction with Eve in Genesis 3 is one of the most pivotal moments in the Bible, yet its nuances are often overlooked. Far from being a straightforward case of deception, this encounter is rich with meaning, subtly challenging traditional interpretations. By examining the dialogue between the serpent and Eve, we uncover a narrative that invites deeper questions about knowledge, autonomy, and the role of divine boundaries. At the heart of this interaction is the serpent's opening question: did God say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? This query is far from a direct lie or an outright temptation. Instead, it's an invitation to reflect and engage critically with the command given by God. Eve's response reveals that she is not merely a passive recipient of the divine command, but an active participant in interpreting. She clarifies God's prohibition, adding, "You must not touch it, or you will die," even though the original command didn't include this detail. This subtle addition suggests that Eve is already navigating the complexities of divine instruction, a process the serpent's question accelerates. The serpent's next statement, "You will not surely die," has been traditionally interpreted as a blatant lie. However, the events that follow complicate this view. When Adam and Eve eat the fruit, they do not die immediately, as one might expect. Instead, the text says, "Their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked." This outcome aligns with the serpent's prediction that eating the fruit would grant knowledge, specifically the knowledge of good and evil. This knowledge, while transformative, is not inherently evil. Instead, it represents a shift in consciousness, a newfound awareness of morality, vulnerability, and autonomy. The Hebrew text emphasizes this transformation with the phrase, "Their eyes were opened." This imagery is not merely physical, but metaphorical, signifying an awakening to deeper truths about themselves and their place in the world. The serpent's role in this process is that of a catalyst, prompting humanity's first steps toward moral and intellectual maturity. Far from being a simple villain, the serpent embodies the tension between obedience and curiosity, between divine authority and human agency. To fully understand the serpent's role, we must also consider the context of the tree itself, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The text does not describe the tree as inherently evil, nor does it suggest that the fruit is toxic or cursed. Instead, the tree is a source of knowledge, and its placement in the garden raises profound questions. Why would God create such a tree and forbid its fruit? Was it a test, a warning, or an invitation to grow? The serpent's actions frame the tree not as a symbol of sin, but as an opportunity to transcend innocence and embrace complexity. Ultimately, the serpent's interaction with Eve is not about mere deception, but about framing a choice. This choice, while fraught with consequences, is foundational to the human experience. It introduces the concepts of free will, moral responsibility, and the pursuit of understanding, elements that define what it means to be human. The value of the serpent's role in Genesis lies not just in its symbolic complexity, but in the broader lessons it imparts about autonomy, transformation, and human experience. Far from being a simple villain, the serpent challenges the status quo, making it a key figure in humanity's journey toward self-awareness and spiritual growth. By reframing the serpent's actions, we can uncover a narrative that resonates deeply with the human quest for meaning and understanding. One of the most striking aspects of the serpent's role is its function as a catalyst for transformation. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve live in a state of innocence, unaware of their own autonomy. The serpent's intervention disrupts this static existence, prompting Eve to question the divine prohibition and ultimately to act. This act of defiance leads to profound consequences: banishment from Eden, labor, and mortality. But it also initiates humanity's journey into self-awareness and independence. In this sense, the serpent's role mirrors that of a teacher or guide, one who introduces humanity to the complexities of moral discernment and personal responsibility. The consequences of Adam and Eve's actions, while often framed as punishment, can also be seen as opportunities for growth. By gaining the knowledge of good and evil, they become capable of making choices, understanding consequences, and forging their own path. This aligns with the serpent's prediction that their eyes would be opened and they would become like God. While this newfound knowledge comes with challenges, it also marks the beginning of human civilization, creativity, and innovation. In broader theological terms, the serpent's role invites reflection on the nature of free will and divine boundaries. Why would a loving God place the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden if it was off limits? Was the prohibition meant to protect Adam and Eve, or was it a test of their autonomy? The serpent's actions force these questions to the forefront, framing the tree not as a trap, but as an opportunity for growth and understanding. This perspective challenges traditional interpretations that cast the serpent solely as an agent of deception. The serpent's role also highlights the duality of knowledge, its power to enlighten and its potential to disrupt. Ancient cultures often depicted serpents as symbols of both wisdom and chaos, reflecting this duality. In Genesis, the serpent embodies this tension, offering knowledge that empowers Adam and Eve but also leads to their exile. This duality resonates with universal themes of growth through struggle, a concept deeply embedded in human experience. Ultimately, the serpent in Genesis represents a pivotal moment in the biblical narrative and in humanity's spiritual evolution. It challenges readers to reconsider simplistic moral interpretations and to see the serpent as a complex figure that catalyzes growth, transformation, and self-awareness. This reinterpretation invites us to engage with the story on a deeper level, reflecting on the tensions between obedience and autonomy, innocence and knowledge, and divine authority and human freedom. Across ancient civilizations, serpents were powerful symbols imbued with dual meanings, embodying wisdom, life, death, and transformation. The cultural significance of serpents in Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek traditions provides a critical context for understanding their role in Genesis. These ancient interpretations elevate the serpent beyond its depiction as a mere tempter, showing it as a mediator between the divine and human realms. In Mesopotamian mythology, serpents often represented wisdom and the sacred. The god Enki, one of the most revered deities, was frequently associated with serpentine imagery. Enki was a figure of wisdom, magic, and water, and his knowledge was believed to bridge the gap between humanity and the divine. In some myths, Enki shared forbidden knowledge with humans, an act that parallels the serpent's role in Genesis. Egyptian culture also revered serpents, though they carried dual associations of protection and danger. The cobra, or uraeus, was an emblem of divine authority and protection, often seen on pharaohs' crowns. This serpent symbolized the pharaoh's divine connection and power to ward off chaos. At the same time, the serpent Apophis represented chaos and destruction, constantly at war with the sun god Ra. Greek mythology offers another layer of understanding, where serpents often appear as guardians of sacred treasures or forbidden knowledge. For instance, in the story of the Garden of the Hesperides, a serpent-like dragon named Ladon guarded the golden apples of immortality. The parallels to Genesis are striking: a sacred garden, forbidden fruit, and a serpent figure guarding or enabling access to divine knowledge. This recurring motif across cultures suggests the Genesis serpent's role as a boundary crosser and mediator. Furthermore, the serpent in ancient cultures was often tied to healing and renewal. The Greek symbol of the caduceus, featuring two entwined serpents around a staff, remains a universal symbol of medicine today. In this context, serpents represented transformation and the cyclical nature of life and death. This interpretation aligns with the serpent's role in Genesis, where its actions lead to humanity's exile but also its growth and self-awareness. Taken together, these cultural interpretations reveal a pattern. Serpents were not one-dimensional symbols of evil. Instead, they were intermediaries, carriers of profound knowledge, and agents of change. This complexity challenges the simplistic view of the Genesis serpent as purely a deceiver. Instead, it invites readers to see the serpent as part of a broader ancient tradition of beings who challenge divine boundaries to offer humanity something transformative. By exploring Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek perspectives, we can appreciate how these ancient symbols enriched the narrative of Genesis. The serpent's role becomes more nuanced, a figure that embodies both danger and enlightenment, loss and growth, mortality and transformation. It bridges worlds, challenging divine authority and human limitations. The serpent's presence in Genesis reflects not just a theological debate, but a profound cultural and existential question. How do we balance the pursuit of knowledge with its consequences? The symbolism of serpents in ancient cultures is reflected in a wealth of examples that deepen our understanding of their significance. These examples reveal the serpent as a complex figure, embodying wisdom, protection, and transformation, while also challenging boundaries between humanity and the divine. By analyzing specific instances in Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek traditions, we can see how these ideas informed the Genesis narrative. In Mesopotamian mythology, the serpent's connection to knowledge and divinity is prominently displayed through the god Enki. In stories like the Eridu Genesis, Enki provides wisdom and assistance to humanity, often defying the will of other gods. He is depicted with streams of water and serpentine imagery, symbolizing life and knowledge. One striking parallel to Genesis is Enki's role in the myth of Adapa, where humanity is denied immortality due to divine restrictions. Egyptian culture provides another layer of serpent symbolism through the Uraeus cobra and the myth of Apophis. The Uraeus, perched on the crowns of pharaohs, symbolize divine protection and power, warding off chaos and enemies. Pharaohs were seen as intermediaries between gods and people, and the cobra's placement emphasized their authority and connection to the divine. On the other hand, Apophis, a serpent representing chaos, battled daily against the sun god Ra in an eternal cycle. Greek mythology offers some of the most direct parallels to the Genesis serpent. In the Garden of the Hesperides, a serpent-like dragon named Ladon guards the golden apples of immortality, preventing access to this divine treasure. Similarly, the symbol of the caduceus, with two intertwined serpents, represents healing and transformation. The parallels between these ancient examples and the Genesis serpent suggest that the biblical authors drew from a shared cultural understanding of serpents. In Mesopotamia, serpents symbolized wisdom and transformation. In Egypt, they embodied both divine authority and chaos. In Greece, they were guardians and healers. These recurring themes highlight the serpent's ability to challenge divine boundaries, acting as both a disruptor and an illuminator. By examining these examples, we see that the serpent was not merely a villain in these traditions, but often a revered figure that brought significant transformation. The serpent's role in Genesis mirrors this complexity, serving as a provocateur that questions the limits placed on humanity. Its actions lead to humanity's exile from Eden, but also its awakening, a parallel to the transformative roles serpents played in other ancient stories. In sum, the symbolism and examples of serpents in Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek cultures enrich our understanding of the Genesis narrative. They reveal a creature that embodies wisdom, duality, and transformation, bridging the gap between humanity and the divine. This broader context invites us to see the serpent not just as a biblical figure, but as part of a universal tradition of beings that challenge, provoke, and ultimately drive humanity toward growth and self-awareness. The value of understanding serpent symbolism across ancient cultures lies in its ability to provide profound insights into the Genesis narrative. The serpent in Genesis is not an isolated figure. It is part of a rich tapestry of cultural and symbolic meanings that elevate its role as a complex and transformative character. Recognizing this shared cultural symbolism helps us appreciate the depth of its portrayal in the Bible and its broader implications for human understanding. One of the key values of serpent symbolism is its representation of duality. In Mesopotamian myths, serpents, like those associated with the god Enki, embody both wisdom and defiance. Enki, as a benefactor of humanity, often challenges divine boundaries to bring knowledge and assistance to humans. This duality of serpents as both helpers and challengers is echoed in Genesis, where the serpent prompts Eve to question divine restrictions and pursue understanding. In Egyptian traditions, the dual nature of serpents is especially prominent. The uraeus cobra symbolizes protection and divine authority, gracing the crowns of pharaohs as a sign of their sacred power. At the same time, the chaotic serpent Apophis represents the constant struggle between order and destruction. This duality mirrors the serpent's role in Genesis as both a provocateur and a catalyst for humanity's awakening. By challenging the divine command, the serpent initiates a transformative. Greek mythology reinforces the transformative value of serpents through figures like Ladon, who guards the golden apples in the Garden of the Hesperides, and the caduceus, a symbol of healing and renewal. These examples highlight serpents as gatekeepers to forbidden knowledge or agents of transformation. The serpent in Genesis fulfills a similar role, bridging the gap between the divine and the human by offering Eve a choice that leads to both loss and growth. The broader value of these symbolic interpretations lies in the themes they introduce: growth through struggle, the pursuit of knowledge, and the cost of defiance. The serpent in Genesis, like its counterparts in other cultures, is a figure that embodies the complexity of these themes. By encouraging Eve to eat the fruit, the serpent challenges the existing order, but it also enables humanity to gain a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. Ultimately, the value of these cultural parallels is in how they deepen our understanding of Genesis. The serpent is not merely a deceiver, it is a figure that challenges divine boundaries, provokes critical thinking, and catalyzes growth. Recognizing this broader tradition of serpent symbolism allows us to see the Genesis narrative as part of a universal exploration of human experience, our struggles, our growth, and our quest for meaning. By understanding the serpent's role through the lens of ancient symbolism, we can better appreciate its profound impact on the Genesis narrative. It serves as a reminder that growth often comes through challenges, that knowledge requires courage, and that transformation is rarely without cost. The serpent's duality, as seen across Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek traditions, reflects the complexity of human existence itself, a journey marked by both loss and enlightenment. The serpent's role in Genesis has undergone significant reinterpretation throughout history, with early Jewish and Christian traditions offering diverse perspectives. These reinterpretations not only reveal the complexity of the text, but also highlight the evolving theological debates surrounding the serpent's identity and actions. By examining these early traditions, we can gain a deeper understanding of the serpent's symbolic and theological significance. In early Jewish interpretations, the serpent was not always viewed as a purely malevolent figure. The Talmud, a central text in Jewish tradition, contains rabbinic discussions that portray the serpent as a complex character. Some rabbis suggested that the serpent might have been more than just a snake, perhaps a. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text widely read during the Second Temple period, provides additional insights. While it does not directly address the serpent in Genesis, it explores themes of supernatural beings imparting forbidden knowledge to humanity. The Watchers, a group of angels in Enochic literature, are depicted as crossing divine boundaries by sharing secrets of heaven with humans. In Christian theology, the serpent's identity underwent a radical transformation. By the time the New Testament was written, the serpent had become explicitly linked to Satan. Revelation 12:9 refers to Satan as that ancient serpent, solidifying the connection between the Genesis serpent and the devil. This reinterpretation was influenced by the dualistic philosophies of the time, particularly Gnosticism and Zoroastrianism, which emphasized cosmic battles between good and evil. Gnostic traditions, which flourished in the early centuries of Christianity, offered a starkly different view of the serpent. In some Gnostic texts, the serpent was seen not as a deceiver but as a liberator. These traditions argued that the God of Genesis, often referred to as the demiurge, was a tyrannical figure seeking to keep humanity in ignorance. The serpent, by encouraging Eve to eat the fruit, became a hero who freed humanity from the demiurge's control and revealed hidden truths. The evolution of the serpent's identity in early Jewish and Christian thought reflects broader theological debates about authority, knowledge, and the nature of good and evil. Was the serpent a tempter, a liberator, or something in between? These interpretations reveal the richness of the Genesis narrative, which resists simplistic categorization and invites readers to grapple with its deeper meanings. By understanding these early traditions, we can appreciate the serpent's role as more than a one-dimensional villain. It serves as a mirror reflecting humanity's own struggles with authority, autonomy, and the pursuit of knowledge. The serpent's evolving identity underscores its enduring significance as a symbol that transcends time, culture, and religious boundaries. The serpent in Genesis has been interpreted in many ways over the centuries, and the evidence used to support these interpretations provides fascinating insights into its role in theology and culture. Early Christian texts, combined with ancient Jewish writings, offer compelling evidence for how the serpent's identity evolved and how it came to symbolize concepts such as temptation, knowledge, and rebellion. In early Jewish traditions, the serpent was not explicitly linked to Satan. Instead, it was viewed as a complex figure with an ambiguous role. The Hebrew text of Genesis describes the serpent as crafty, aramum, a word that can mean shrewd or intelligent rather than outright deceptive. This linguistic nuance opens the door to a broader interpretation of the serpent as a figure that encourages critical thinking rather than purely leading humanity astray. Rabbinic discussions in the Talmud explore the serpent's characteristics in more depth. Some rabbis speculated that the serpent was a human-like or even divine creature, capable of reasoning and speech. This perspective aligns with its actions in Genesis, where it engages Eve in a logical discussion about the forbidden fruit. Rather than directly deceiving her, the serpent frames its argument in a way that invites curiosity and debate, leading Eve to evaluate the situation for herself. Christian theology, however, redefined the serpent's identity, with much of the evidence drawn from the New Testament. Revelation 12:9 explicitly identifies the serpent as Satan, describing it as that ancient serpent called the devil. This reinterpretation solidified the connection between the Genesis serpent and the concept of ultimate evil. The writings of early church fathers, such as Augustine and Irenaeus, further emphasize this view, portraying the serpent as a symbol of rebellion against divine order. Gnostic texts provide an alternative perspective, offering evidence of the serpent's role as a liberator rather than a deceiver. In Gnostic traditions, the serpent is celebrated for challenging the authority of the demiurge, a lesser god who sought to keep humanity in ignorance. By encouraging Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, the serpent becomes a hero who frees humanity from oppression and opens the path to enlightenment. While these interpretations were condemned as heretical by Orthodox Christianity, they reveal the serpent's enduring complexity as a symbol. One of the most intriguing pieces of evidence comes from Numbers 21, where Moses lifts a bronze serpent to heal the Israelites. This act portrays the serpent not as an evil figure but as a symbol of salvation and healing. The duality of the serpent as both a symbol of danger and a source of renewal reflects its multifaceted role in ancient cultures and its layered symbolism in the Bible. The evolution of the serpent's interpretation is supported by these textual examples, which reveal a figure that cannot be confined to a single narrative. From its depiction as a cunning creature in Genesis to its association with Satan in Revelation, the serpent embodies a range of themes that resonate across cultures and religions. By examining these examples, we can appreciate the serpent as a symbol of transformation, rebellion, and the eternal tension between knowledge and obedience. The value of the serpent's role in Genesis lies in its enduring ability to provoke reflection on humanity's spiritual journey and the complex relationship between divine authority and human autonomy. By examining how the serpent's role has been interpreted and reinterpreted, we can uncover profound insights into the human experience and the universal themes of choice, knowledge, and transformation. One of the key values of the serpent's role is its challenge to the status quo. In Genesis, the serpent's actions force Adam and Eve to confront a divine prohibition and make a choice. This act of defiance, while leading to consequences, also represents a fundamental aspect of human existence, the exercise of free will. The serpent's role as a provocateur encourages readers to consider the importance of questioning, exploring, and seeking understanding, even when it comes at a cost. The serpent's influence extends beyond the immediate narrative of Genesis. It invites reflection on broader theological questions about the nature of God, the purpose of boundaries, and the role of knowledge in human development. Why would a loving God place the tree of the knowledge of good and evil within reach and then forbid its fruit? Was this a test of obedience, a safeguard, or an invitation to grow? The serpent's actions force these questions into the open, making it a catalyst for theological exploration and human introspection. In addition to its role in the biblical story, the serpent's value is evident in the way it mirrors universal human experiences. The pursuit of knowledge often comes with risks and consequences, yet it is also the driving force behind progress and self-awarenesses. The serpent's encouragement of Eve to eat the fruit symbolizes the human desire to push boundaries, embrace curiosity, and seek greater understanding, even when it disrupts the existing order. Culturally, the serpent's role aligns with ancient traditions that viewed serpents as symbols of duality, figures that could both protect and destroy, heal and harm. This duality is reflected in the serpent's impact on Adam and Eve. While it leads to their exile from Eden, it also initiates their journey toward becoming fully human, capable of moral discernment and personal growth. This duality challenges readers to consider the complexities of transformation and the interplay between loss and enlightenment. Theological interpretations of the serpent's role further underscore its value as a multifaceted symbol. In Christian thought, the serpent's association with Satan highlights themes of temptation and spiritual warfare, while Gnostic traditions celebrate it as a liberator and a bringer of enlightenment. These diverse interpretations reflect humanity's ongoing struggle to reconcile the pursuit of knowledge with the need for spiritual guidance and moral boundaries. Ultimately, the serpent's role in Genesis is not about simplistic notions of good versus evil. It is a story about growth, choice, and the pursuit of understanding. The serpent's value lies in its ability to provoke thought, challenge assumptions, and inspire readers to engage deeply with the complexities of the human condition. By re-examining the serpent's role, we gain a richer appreciation of its significance as a symbol of transformation, autonomy, and the eternal quest for meaning. The serpent in Genesis is far more than a simple antagonist. Its role as a boundary crosser and a catalyst for transformation forces us to rethink the narrative of the Garden of Eden. This isn't just a story about sin and punishment, it's about humanity's journey towards self-awareness, the cost of knowledge, and the complexities of free will. By presenting Adam and Eve with the choice to eat from the tree of knowledge, the serpent introduces the possibility of growth, albeit through struggle. Across ancient cultures, serpents were symbols of duality, both protectors and destroyers, carriers of wisdom and agents of chaos. These interpretations help us see the Genesis serpent as part of a broader tradition of beings who challenge order to inspire transformation. Its actions lead to consequences, but they also mark the beginning of human civilization, creativity, and moral discernment. The serpent's role challenges us to consider deeper questions. What does it mean to pursue knowledge? How do we balance obedience with curiosity? And what is the cost of autonomy? By engaging with these themes, we gain a richer understanding of Genesis as a profound exploration of human nature, choice, and the eternal quest for meaning.